clean air and water, equitable transportation options, energy-efficient buildings, plenty of park and green space, and a viable economy that supports all residents. These are just some of the critical components of a sustainable quality of life, and there are priorities that now shape many of the city's policies and strategies. The city's first ever sustainability report, which was released just this summer, helps to tell Durham's sustainability story so far and lays the groundwork for an intentional and well thought out path forward for now and for the future. Welcome to CityLife. I'm Beverly Thompson. Joining me to talk about the report and Durham's sustainability efforts overall are Sustainability Specialist Erin Victor with the city's General Services Department and Tobin Freid, manager of the City County Sustainability Office. Welcome, and thanks for joining me. So Tobin, let's get started by explaining what sustainability really is and why it's such an important issue for the city.
So sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. So by balancing environmental stewardship, social responsibility, and economic prosperity, we're able to enjoy our quality of life, but make sure that future generations are able to also enjoy a good quality of life.
Okay, so, well, before we get started talking about what we're doing now, give us a brief overview of Durham's sustainability history.
Sure. Durham has been working on sustainability for a very long time, going back to the 80s and even earlier. Durham was recognized as a Tree City USA 34 years ago and has been recognized every year since. We started many programs, water conservation programs, early on. We've also established many boards and commissions, including the Environmental Affairs Board, the Open Space and Trails Commission, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. All of those have been around for decades. And we've created and implemented many plans that address sustainability, including a bicycle and pedestrian plan, also a cultural arts master plan. So a lot of things that we've been working on for decades.
Okay, so suffice it to say we've been pretty busy for a couple of decades on this whole issue.
That's true.
Right. So I know climate change is becoming more and more accepted as a reality now, and because of that, it's posing some real challenges for the community. Why is this the case?
So climate change is a global problem, and it's affecting everyone worldwide. When fossil fuels are burned and other kinds of emissions, they create these gases that go into the atmosphere, and that traps energy in our atmosphere. And that leads to changes in our systems, such as our climate system. Our weather patterns change. We see more extreme weather. We see droughts, also glaciers melting, and that affects sea level rise. So it really disrupts a lot of the way we've always had our planet function. And that is a big challenge. But the good news is that we can all impact the solution. And everything that we do every day, we can have a positive impact on that. And so we can work on this locally here in Durham to do what we need to do. And Durham's been a leader in that. In fact, we were the first to adopt a greenhouse gas emissions reduction plan of any other community in North Carolina. And that calls for a reduction in emissions from government by 50% and by the community by 30% by the year 2030.
So Erin, let's turn to you. What are some of Durham's other environmental challenges or accomplishments even from the past 10 years? And I believe they're outlined in the sustainability report.
Yes, there's a lot of them in the sustainability report, but I'll give a couple highlights.
Okay.
So, as you know, we've been doing curbside recycling here in Durham for many years, but we also offer a lot of different programs here in the city that help us reduce the amount of waste that goes to the landfill, like our swap shop, where people can go and drop off gently used items and pick up other gently used items, or our free recycling and disposal of household hazardous waste and electronic waste. So these are just a couple of ways we help reduce the waste stream. We also have great programs like half of our buses actually are hybrid, which are 13% more fuel efficient than your average diesel bus. This has saved us over 600,000 gallons of fuel per year since we started switching over to those with Go Durham. We have several initiatives where internally in the city we're making sure our city-owned facilities are energy efficient, including $1.7 million of investments in upgrading our lighting and our HVAC systems in order to save a lot of money and on our utility bills, but also save a lot of energy.
You know, something, all of these seem so natural. They aren't things that people really think about, you know, as going towards sustainability. And they're things that don't actually hurt us, you know, we don't feel the effects.
No,
you know?
yeah.
So
win-win.
It is a win-win for everybody. So what is the city doing to ensure the sustainability of our water supply, our neighborhoods, transportation options, and other areas that have to do with Durham's built environment? First of all, what is built environment?
Well, built environment is a lot of the things that you just mentioned. Essentially, it is we are growing in terms of how many people are living in our urban areas, and we want to make sure that our buildings and our streets and our water supply are all environmentally sound, and that they also help foster and promote a more economic and socially responsible way of living. So we do things here in the city, like our water management department provides safe and secure water, so we never have to think about it when we turn on our tap. Or we go to our parks, and our parks department helps maintain 1,800 acres of public space that we can enjoy and play and exercise in. Or there's things where, like, our planning department is very good at making sure that we have walkable communities or diverse transportation options, so we can bike and walk and bus to the places we need to go.
All about quality of life, huh?
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of times we use the term green infrastructure in city government, especially when we talk about sustainability. What does that term really mean, and how are we providing it?
Well, we do like to use jargon. So essentially, green infrastructure is just a nice way of saying that we're trying to mimic the natural water cycle. And so it's a cost-effective way of dealing with high floods or rain and water events that happen in an urban setting where there's a lot of impervious surfaces. So think of our sidewalks and our parking lots. When it rains, it doesn't get absorbed into the ground. It just runs off. And so when we have what you call stormwater runoff, it picks up pollutants along the streets. It picks up our trash and our bacteria, and that causes water quality issues. And also we have issues with flooding when there's too much rain. So one way to mitigate this, that's a cost-effective way of mitigating this, is by planting trees or by creating green roofs or rain gardens. And so we're doing a lot of those things here in Durham, including putting natural buffers around our streams and putting in pollinator gardens and rain barrels and a lot of different ways of mimicking the natural water cycle.
So Erin, the sustainability report also talks about Durham's jobs and the economy. Why are these important elements of just talking about the sustainability report itself?
Yeah, so we normally think of sustainability and we talk about the environment. But as Tobin talked about earlier, sustainability also includes the social and the economic aspects of what it means to be a sustainable community. And so in Durham, we've seen a huge revitalization of our economy over the past several years. And in fact, since 2008, we've seen $2.28 billion of economic growth come into our community, which has created over 6,000 jobs. And having shared economic prosperity and jobs available for our community is really an important part of what makes a sustainable community. And we've seen things here in Durham that we're doing that have really made a big difference, including we have a city-county joint economic development plan, which touches a lot on business retention and workforce development, as well as creating a business-friendly environment here, as well as things like our Office of Economic and Workforce Development partnering with the Durham Economic Workforce Board in order to create programs that focus on getting our workforce ready for high-paying, high-quality jobs.
Tobin, would you like to add anything to that, or is that pretty comprehensive.
I think she covered a lot. Really, if we aren't seeing economic prosperity, it's hard then to invest in some other things like the green infrastructure. So all these things are really tied together. The living wage, of course, is tied to the social responsibility that we want people to be able to provide for their families. So they are all really interconnected, and it's difficult and not very useful to try to separate them out.
Right. So Erin, I know the arts and community, equity and empowerment and innovation, right? It's a huge report, so it really covers a lot.
Does.
But those things are mentioned as well. What role do they play in providing a sustainability, a sustainable community, and even in the entire conversation?
So a lot of what you just touched on is what makes up our rich culture here in Durham. And that culture is what attracts businesses to Durham. It's what attracts tourists to Durham. And also, very importantly, it's what binds our community together and creates thriving and livable neighborhoods. And we see that we here in Durham have a really vibrant local arts community. We saw that in the last CityLife episode about local arts. We work a lot on historic preservation and honoring the rich history of Durham. And we also do a lot of things to celebrate and really embrace the cultural and social diversity that makes Durham Durham. So we've done a lot along that line. And then also equity empowerment is just something very important to us here in Durham. We really want to make sure our services and our programs are inclusive, that they empower people, and that they help people feel like they can participate and be part of the solution.
So I'd imagine that sustainability leads to a lot of innovation as well.
Yes, it does. And we've been leaders in innovation for a while. In fact, we were one of the first communities in the state to have a sustainability office.
So, and clearly there are just a lot of great reasons to be proud of what Durham has going on when it comes to sustainability. There's always room for improvement, though, which is why you guys are here. What are some of the things that we're working on for the future?
You hit it spot on. We definitely have done a lot, and we have a lot to be proud of in the last several years. But we also really are looking forward to both outlining what we can do in the future in the sustainability plan that we're developing right now. But also there's a couple things in the pipeline that we're excited about. For example, we're breaking ground on 2 of our first LEED silver buildings here in Durham. Both the police headquarters and the fire and EMS station 17 will be LEED silver.
What does that mean?
LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and the Environmental Design.
Okay.
So it's a green certification program that allows for us to make sure that when we're building and operating a building, that it is in an environmentally sound way.
Okay. So Tobin, I know the city is also pursuing a certification through the STAR Community Rating System. Tell me a little about that system.
Sure. The STAR Community Rating System was created by leaders in sustainability and local government sustainability throughout the country, and it's really a national program to show best practices and to allow communities to benchmark themselves, our actions against those best practices, and learn how we can improve. So there are categories in a lot of the things we've touched on already. Of course, environmental sustainability, including energy and climate, natural systems, as well as arts and culture and jobs and economy. And so there are 500 plus measures that we can look and see how we're doing. And it provides a data-driven and transparent process for really looking at how we're doing as a community compared to where we could be and where other communities are.
So what's the timeline for that process?
So we have spent the last 6 months or so, I guess we started maybe in April, on pulling together the team and working with partners throughout the city, the county, and the community to find out what we're doing on all these different measures. And we submitted that in July. And we expect to get our certification in November.
So does this help with the sustainability plan for Durham?
It does. So now we'll have a lot of information, again, on where we stand against all these best practices, and we'll know where we're doing really well and where there are areas to improve. And we can take that information, feed it into the sustainability plan that Erin mentioned, as well as the strategic plan for the city, for the county. Our community partners will have all of that information as well to see where we want to put our resources to improve.
Everything's integrated.
It's all integrated, yes.
That's great. So Erin, I know you want and need residents to weigh in on seeing what they can do to help set the city's priorities for sustainability efforts. How can they learn more about the sustainability plan and offer input even?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. That's exactly what we want. We want residents to help shape what the city's first sustainability plan will look like. And they can do that on the project website, which is www.durhamsustainabilityplan.com. And on that website, there's a lot of project background. There's information about the framework which we're using based off of STAR, which Tobin was talking about. And there's also a survey available for residents to provide feedback. And that survey is also available in paper and in Spanish as needed.
Great, sounds good. So one final question for both of you. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the sustainability report or about our sustainability efforts overall?
Just that we can be very proud here in Durham of all the work we're doing. There's obviously more work to be done, and everyone has a role to play. So I encourage people to get involved in some of those commissions that I mentioned. Definitely participate in the survey. Information on all of Durham's sustainability efforts, including a link to the report and all those commissions and all of the plans. Everything we've mentioned today can be found at the Sustainability Office website, which is greenerdurham.net.
Great. All right. Well, thank you both for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. That does it for City Life. Don't forget to follow us on social media and check out our new podcast on iTunes. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you for joining me to learn more about City Life in Durham.